Hey YouTube, it's TheCousinDan again. This time I'm going to show you how to give yourself sutures or stitches. If you're looking for a lecture from a trained medical professional, then you're in the right place. I'm just kidding. You're definitely not in the right place. This is a video that will get you by. This is for when you're out and about, you're hiking, you're biking, you're longboarding, or whatever it is, and you get hurt, and you either are too far away from a hospital to go, or you have too much testosterone in your bloodstream to convince yourself to go to a hospital, then this video is for you. Okay, in my case it was a longboarding crash. It actually happened several days ago, but I was out of town, and so it just kind of healed over a little bit, but there's still like a big divot there. So I'm just going to soften it up, soak it for a while, soften it up, and then get that scab out of there, and then we'll stitch it up like it was new. I know a lot of people would say, that is so unorthodox, but you know what? Again, this video is not for those people. So here goes. Now, before you start, you're going to need a couple different things. Firstly, you're going to need to get hurt. You're also going to need some alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Higher percentage will kill more of the bacteria before you start. You're going to need, okay, you don't really need, but it's a good idea to have some prep solution. It's iodine prep solution. That's going to keep bacteria out during the procedure. Things that you don't need, but are nice to have, this cool blue 1% lidocaine stuff. That'll help numb it a little bit. And a garbage bag. You're going to want some tape too, and a place to work. But you're going to stretch this over your work surface and then clean it with the alcohol before you start. You're also going to need something to stitch with. The best thing that I could find was actually 2-pound test fishing line. The reason it's 2 pounds is because that's the thinnest one I could find. If you can find something thinner, you'll probably have even more success. But this is what I found to be the best. Don't use regular thread. That is a bear to get out later. Not fun, because it actually fuses with the skin and then you're like tearing it again. Kind of hurts. Also, need some needles. Regular sewing needles. Get the smallest ones you can find. I didn't say this wasn't going to hurt, so there's that disclaimer. Also, if you're cleaning out the scab, like if you're going to do this again later to kind of minimize the scar, not that you really always want to minimize scars, because scars can be pretty cool, but if you're doing it like I am doing right now to show you, you're also going to want a toothbrush, and a clean one, so that you can scrub it out and then stitch after you scrub it out. First of all, you want to clear off your work area, so take everything, all the objects away, of course, and oh geez, random tubes of dichloromethane probably would not be a good idea. Get that out of here, that out of here, and then take your alcohol. This is one of the things you want to do with this. Put some on a paper towel and clean this thing off. This is not sterilizing it, but it is, I mean, because this is wood basically, but it's taking the dust off, and it's getting us in the right direction. Now we're going to take this garbage bag and stretch it over our work area. So, stretch that out, tape it down to your desk if you can, stretch it out, get this place nice and clean. Basically we're just making a procedure table. It's going to do the trick for us. Now at this point you want to put some gloves on before you start cleaning off your work area. You could use sterile gloves like this. These are meant for procedures like this, but who has sterile gloves, right? So this is the kind of thing that you find at the hardware store. We're just going to use this. Just put on a glove, you know, like it's not sterile, it's clean, it's not sterile, but we're going to put some alcohol on the outside of these gloves and kind of get the same effect, you know, because we're real people that don't have access to medical supply companies and all that jazz. So now look at that, let it air dry. As it air dries is when the bacteria die, because they're being dehydrated by evaporation. So I'm going to put this, another paper towel, sprinkle some that over it, and clean off our work surface. Now we're looking pretty good. I would feel comfortable having an open wound touch that. This isn't exactly an open gaping wound. But the other tricky thing is I'm going to have to work with only my left hand because I'm working on my right hand. But we're going to get a closer view here and then we're going to start. One last thing is we're going to have a clean but not sterile and a sterile section. And you need to mark that line so you don't get those confused. So we'll draw a line on our plastic. And we have S for sterile. And we have NS for not sterile. This is where we work. This is where we put our equipment. There's a transition section from here to here where you clean it with the alcohol before you actually set it down here, and your gloves are constantly being cleaned by the alcohol and they are the transition medium. Alright, now we're just going to continue to clean everything else with alcohol. You need a forceps to bend this needle. These have already been cleaned with alcohol, but I'm just running them over again, getting them wet. Brand new out of the package where a toothbrush is not sterile like the sterile we need. I'm also going to clean the bottles of the things that I'm going to be touching. Okay, so one last thing I'm going to do before I take this glove off is continue to use this lighter and bend the needle. So I'm going to heat it up pretty hot because the needle will be so much easier to work with while it's bent. You can see it's nice and orange right now. Take your other forceps or whatever it is that you're using. Give it a nice curve. There we go. Now I'll take alcohol, clean it off again, and we'll be good to go. Alright, now one last thing before we start. Keep saying that. Get yourself a tumbler glass. Clean it off. Put it on your sterile side. Get yourself some gin, because why not? You're giving yourself stitches without anesthetic. Okay, so we're going to take this sterile prep solution and put some of that directly on the skin and on a paper towel, and then work this entire area so that we have something sterile to stitch into. Alright, so now we got that. It's iodine, that's what gives it that color. Set that aside. And I want this to be kind of raked out because it's been a couple days. So I'm going to take this toothbrush and just scrub it out, you know. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said I didn't tell you it wasn't going to hurt. So, get that baby nice and cleaned out. Now it's just fresh. Doesn't have scab in it anymore. No coagulation of the blood that came out, and no, thickening of the plasma or whatever else was in there. Alright, so we're just going to let that sit for about a minute and let that iodine do its thing, and then we'll start. Alright, ready to go. Got the needle, got everything set up. We're basically just going to close this like that. Now, we're going to do what's called a simple uninterrupted stitch, and I have a book. It's called Plastic Surgery by Dr. William Grab, and I have a scan of a page that shows some stitching styles, and I'm going to put that on the screen now. But in this case, I'm doing the first one on the top left. It's called Simple Uninterrupted. So at this point, take a drink of your gin and dive right in. So I'm going to start on the right. We're just going to poke it in and in on the side, through the center of the cut. Now, the thinner the needle, the easier this is going to be. Now, I actually might use a straight needle to finish this out. So you can see now a regular needle that a doctor would use in an emergency department would actually be, see, I'm bending my needle because I heated it, but a doctor would use a needle that's actually sharpened on the front. Now, not pointed, I mean actually has a blade across the front. Now that's actually going to cut through and leave, if you looked at it really close, it's going to leave like a slash as it goes through. Okay, so I got a better angle now. I'm going to finish pushing through this last section, and then I'm going to switch needles because this is not working so hot. I'm actually pushing hard, I'm bending this needle. My skin's tough, I guess. Alright, so I got this thing to pull on through, and here we go. That's the first pass of stitch number 1. So now, I basically just have to loop this thing through tie it like a square knot. It's significantly harder with one hand, trust me. Alright, so I've got my second needle ready to go, and I'm just going to use a straight one. Not going to bend this thing. And I'm just going to go right in. I'm going to have a lot better angle here. Just be gentle with it, you know, let it sink through the skin. You don't want to like force it and then snap it through and nail the bone. Trust me, that hurts. Did that one time. So, I might have been a little deep on the other side, but see, that's not so bad. I'm going to grab the other side, pull it right on through. Now we get to tie it again. Same procedure as before. Go over or under and then back through just like a square knot. Toss that through, swap this to your hand so you can pull against it. Tighten it down for stitch number 2. Looking pretty good. Pull it through like a square knot again. Hold it again. Double knot on stitch number 2. Okay, now I know you didn't get to see stitch number 1 very well because my hand was in the way, but here is number 3, and you got to see number 2 pretty well. So again, in through the one side, across through the chasm, out the other side, just like that. You see, it's nice and deep. It's got something to grab onto. If it stays there for 7 days, it's not going to go away. Make sure that your thread is indeed in the back of the needle. Sometimes you can forget that and just pull it through without thread, and then you got to go through again. And there you have it. 3 stitches, and it's good to go. We give it 7 days, cut them out, and that scar will not be nearly as bad as it would have otherwise been. These are clear stitches, so you're gonna have to look closely when you cut them out, but you know, that's why they usually do the black ones, but I couldn't find any black fishing line because black fishing line probably wouldn't work very well as fishing line. Anyway, that's it. Have fun. Alright, well that's pretty much it. If you're watching this video and you maybe got a little bit squeamish and you're like, oh, that looks like it hurts, or that looks like it's disgusting, or that's a little bit over my head, then don't do this at home. However, if you were watching this video and it was like, cool, now I don't have to go to the hospital when I get injured, which is like every weekend these days, do this at home. And then make a video of your injury and send it to us. And then make a video of your stitches and link it to this video, because we want to see it. That's not weird, is it? That's not weird, right?
Nah.
Thanks for watching The Cousin Dan. Don't forget to subscribe.